Finance Committee in the brand new year, January 9th. We have a quorum present and we are certified and compliant with the open meetings laws. Public comment, but I don't know if anybody would want to brave to come out and for public comment. All right, so up into communications. You want to go with these in order that they are presented, Dave, or is there a different order? You have conduit debt first.
Well, I just put them in the order that that we knew that they were going to speak on the agenda, so I guess I would just take them in order.
Got it. All right. Linda?
Yes, good evening. Happy to be able to talk to you tonight. Glad I didn't have to go out in the weather to do it. I am Linda Templin. I'm serving as bond counsel on behalf of this project. As I mentioned when we were chatting before the meeting, I've probably done 600 or 700 conduit bond financings in my very long career. Some people call me the bond queen. Tax exempt bonds are a very useful tool for communities. It's a way that a community can enhance the opportunities for projects to locate in their community, expand in their community, or acquire an existing facility and improve it in their community. But not every project that's coming to a community will qualify for tax exempt bonds. Prior to 1986, Congress allowed virtually almost any kind of project to use tax exempt bond financing. And as a result, so many tax exempt bonds were done for McDonald's and Burger King's that they were called burger bonds. But in 1986, Congress decided, we don't get a lot of bang for our buck doing tax exempt financing to increase the number of Burger Kings and McDonald's. The footprint they create in the community with the structure is not going to generate a lot more property tax. They're fairly quick to build, so there's not a lot of construction jobs. They don't create a lot of jobs, and they certainly don't create the higher paying jobs that you see in other sectors. So they ratcheted way back and they said, we're going to create an incentive for small manufacturers to be able to access money more cheaply than they would with a regular bank loan. And so in order to qualify under Section 144 of the Internal Revenue Code, you must be a small manufacturer in order to qualify. And they could have picked almost any litmus test to say whether a manufacturer was small, but they determined that the litmus test they would use would be, what are the capital expenditures of this manufacturer in the community where their project is located in a 6-year period of time? That snapshot in time looks back 3 years, considers the project cost that's being proposed, and forward 3 years. And in that 6-year period of time, the manufacturer cannot have more than $20 million of capital expenditures in that community. Here with FlowClear, they're new to the community, and so they will not have any problem with the look back. The size of the project currently doesn't put that $20 million test in jeopardy either. And it leaves them room for expansion if that would occur in the next 3 years. They also expect to create about 20 jobs initially in the community. So that's the basis by which they qualify, and it is not a debt of the community. Prior to allowing for tax exempt bonds for anyone besides the government, all bonds were just issued by the government for that governmental unit, for their roads and their city hall and whatever. Then the tax code had expanded and said, we're going to let 501c3s use tax exempt bonds. That's under a different section of the code. And they decided to say they're going to be tax exempt in part because they are being issued by a municipality. They're a municipal bond. But we want the municipality to be purely a conduit, a legal fiction that says it's a municipal bond because a municipality issued it. However, in the bond documents, all of the rights, responsibility, liability, anything from the city is assigned down to the bondholder. Sometimes there's a trustee that looks out for the interests of the bondholder. Other times the bank, which purchases the bond, is both the lender and they look out for their own interests. In any event, that's all assigned at closing down, and the municipality steps back and is not in the deal. In some municipalities, their accountants will identify the amount of tax exempt bonds that they have outstanding in a footnote to their financials, but it is merely a footnote because the city has no liability for the bonds. They levy no tax, they pay no costs of doing the bonds. All of those costs are paid by the borrower. They are simply that conduit that allows them to access that section of the tax code. Sometimes municipalities ask me, well, what would happen if the borrower defaulted? This bond is going to be structured, and most bonds now are structured as a single bank, the lender, is the sole bondholder. And they have a credit agreement with this borrower where the borrower agrees to pay. They take collateral, just like when you get a mortgage on your house and the bank has that mortgage. If you didn't pay your debt service on your house after some amount of time, they would foreclose on it. Likewise, with a conduit bond, that relationship is, for payment is between the bank and the borrower. And if the borrower would fail to make its payments, at some point, the bank would declare them in default and would foreclose on their rights under the collateral that they had taken. If that were to occur, you probably wouldn't even know it occurred, simply because you're out of the picture. The bond documents also provide for broad indemnification of the city. And you might ask, well, if we're out of the picture, why do we need to be indemnified? One example I give is wherever two or more lawyers meet, there might be a lawsuit. Me excluded. I don't want to be involved in any lawsuits. But so let's say the building's under construction and somebody wanders onto the site and they don't belong there, but they get hurt. And who do they sue? They want to sue everybody they can think of to sue. And they read in the paper that the city did a bond. And so they decide they're going to sue the city. Well, the city would be dismissed, but there might be some costs associated for the city to be dismissed. And so that indemnification in that case would cover that, so that it now and in the future, you cannot be pulled into it. I noticed that your attorney for your municipal debt is Quarles and Brady. I don't know if you're going to use local counsel. I think Bridget Keating sent out a letter that suggests you're going to use Quarles. Because I do so many conduit deals and Quarles does so many municipal deals, they know our documents, they know us, we know exactly what they're going to demand for indemnification. They scrutinize that on your behalf as well. The final thing that we just chatted about a little bit before the call started is there is no cost to the city, and Dave had indicated, well, there's administrative staff time. It is not uncommon, it has become more common for municipalities to charge some small fee as an issuance fee that is intended to cover the costs of staff time that has to deal with some of these things. The most common fixed fee is probably around $1,000, but that's a policy for you to develop about what is adequate to cover what your staff time in looking and preparing for the bonds. Now I'll take a deep breath and let you ask me questions.
Thanks for that, Linda. Does anybody have any initial questions on that? That was a pretty thorough explanation in a short span of time, too. Dave?
Just one comment, just a adjunct to what Linda had mentioned. The only way that this appears in the financial statements for the city is a footnote, and we have to update that footnote each year with the ending balance of the debt and how much was paid. So there's usually just one paragraph on this topic. So in the event that the conduit debt party, in this case FlowCare, if they would have problems with the collection or whatever, that comment would be noted, so we'd get the update that way. But as she said, other than that, it never appears in our financials anywhere. It doesn't affect our borrowing capability.
So Dave, to follow up on something Linda was saying about the fee that's in there based on staff time, is that something that we have to undertake, should undertake, or?
It's probably something that we should. Linda mentioned that the city of Oshkosh has that, so I'm going to be emailing my counterpart Russ there tomorrow to find out how they get that involved, and probably just plagiarize the heck out of that form and go forward.
Okay. And then what do we look at like as overall timeline for this process?
Well, a few things need to happen. I know you wanted to have this discussion this evening and you thought you might actually act on the initial resolution at the subsequent meeting, and that's fine. The importance of the initial resolution is that when they allowed for tax bonds, remember Congress wanted to believe that they were doing a good thing, incentivizing a development to occur. And so they don't want a bond to be a refinancing tool. They want to believe they incentivize the project. So the rule is the borrower can include in their eligible bond costs those costs that are incurred no more than 60 days before the date we get this initial resolution. Architectural engineering and design can predate that. So we want to get the resolution because that is a stake in the ground that says, okay, now we've preserved the eligibility for eligible costs. Then from then on, our timing is driven by how quickly the borrower wants to move and how quickly they get a term sheet from their, excuse me, from their bank. Once the initial resolution is passed, we do have a notice, you probably saw it on the resolution, that notice to electors that allows electors 30 days in which to petition for a referendum as to whether the city should be a conduit issuer. I have only had one instance in all the deals I've done that the community successfully petitioned for a referendum. And it was a very, very small community. They needed 40 signatures. And so they just drove their pickup truck up and down the road and they got 40 signatures. Some of them they got 2 or 3 times, but they still had 40. And so I don't see that as a barrier, but it is a timing barrier. Even if I had the commitment letter tomorrow, we cannot close on bonds until that petition period has run and we can confirm that there won't be the need for a referendum. If the borrower is ready to go and they have a term sheet, it takes about another, from the date we start documenting from that term sheet, it takes about 6 weeks. And the reason for that is we draft the documentation, circulated among the parties to review. We also have a public hearing known as a TEFRA hearing that's held at the time that the final resolution is considered. That TEFRA hearing must be published within certain timing requirements before the hearing is actually held. And so given the timing of your legal publication and your meeting dates, that's how we get, and we apply for volume cap, the limit on bonds with the WEDC. Those things happening usually take about 6 weeks. So if we were moving as fast as we could go and you considered an initial resolution on January 25th, I'd say we'd probably be looking at maybe the end of March to come back with a public hearing and consideration of the final resolution. When you did that, we would close within 3 or 4 days.
Go ahead, Lisa. I was going to interrupt, but Lisa has her hand up.
Oh, thank you. So it sounds then like any attorney fees are the responsibility of the borrower then? Either
Yes.
our attorney or your services? Okay.
Yes, yes. The borrower gets to pay all the bills.
Thank you.
Mayor, you had a question?
And, and just to provide a little bit of background. So one of the reasons that we wanted to just basically make this a presentation tonight, not make any final decisions, is it's a lot of information and it's sort of tied to the development as a whole. So we figured it'd be good just to present this to both the committee and the council tonight, so you can sort of evaluate it. There's an agenda item later on about authorizing basically Dave and the city attorney, or in this case, we would have Quarles and Brady handle the financing side of the industrial revenue bonds, basically to come back potentially with more information for all of you. But that allows you just to sort of evaluate the project as a whole, because I know Richard from the developer would like to speak as well, just about his TIF request. So we figured we'd give you all some time just to digest the information, and potentially at the next meeting, either the Quarles and Brady can just provide information, or provide information and a resolution for you all to consider moving forward with the industrial revenue bonds on a parallel path with an offer to purchase with the development as a whole. So it's just sort of some background on the process that we thought, but obviously but it's all subject to whatever the finance committee and city council would like to proceed.
Yeah, and I believe Mike Paralegal copied Bridget Keating at Quarles with the documents. Actually, we prepare the resolution. They will obviously review it and opine to you that it's in proper form. And I don't think they'll dispute anything I told you tonight.
And we've actually got that opinion already from Quarles.
Okay.
I guess my question is related to what Rick had mentioned about some other things that have to happen. So as of right now, we don't have an accepted offer to purchase, which is something that we need to do. So what actually needs to happen during this time period? Because I certainly want to make sure that Quarles and then you all ultimately have all the information you need at the time you need it.
I'm not sure if that question was for me, but from the bond standpoint, we've drafted all the documents, we've circulated them. When you both have your policies square, what you want to do in terms of going forward for covering administrative costs and for consideration of the initial resolution. Certainly, if you don't do it until the next meeting, that's perfectly fine. The longer time goes on, the costs at risk are when the borrower starts spending money on the project. That could occur both by virtue of the closing on the land or the need to pre-order equipment or sign a construction contract that required some kind of down payment. And again, he can pull those in as he can reach back 60 days from the date you adopt the initial resolution. I think it would be preferable for the project and for the lender if we got it at the next meeting. But from an eligibility standpoint, if it took you until the next meeting, that would be fine in terms of eligibility as well.
Linda, does the flow care need to have title to the property before the loan can get issued?
Yeah, because they'll be giving the bank a mortgage, so they'll have to have the title to the property. It could happen simultaneously with a bond closing. More likely what would happen is their bank would give them a bridge loan, which is an eligible cost if that resolution is in place, your resolution. They would give them a bridge loan so they could close on the property, and the bond financing would occur a few weeks later or a month later or whatever, and then they would simply pay off that bridge loan with bond proceeds. But I don't see the bank closing if they don't hold title to the property, because you can't give them a mortgage on anything.
True.
And some of the steps that I think we would have to complete from a city standpoint, I guess, is there is that offer to purchase. We are still, in the process of negotiating it, and part of that is the industrial revenue bonds. Part of it is the tax increment financing piece. Those are some of the big questions, I guess, that it's going to be up to the city to decide how it wants to proceed on at least the tax increment financing. So tonight there's obviously another agenda item, but that's going to be more or less, we'll talk about the TIF application, and then also there's the agenda item for authorizing Ellers to do an analysis on the application itself. So that'll take some time, obviously, for the financial analysis. And then there's the negotiating the offer to purchase and potentially a development agreement or TIF agreement with the developer. So those are kind of to-do list items for all of us.
The bond and the TIF are not related in terms of the legalities that I'm looking at. They will, however, the bank, when they do the term sheet and when we document the loan and the bond with the bank, they're going to want to also see the development agreement and see what's implicated there. They're not going to weigh in on it. They're not a part of the negotiation, but it will be a key thing that they'll want to see as well. I actually learned of this project because Richard was talking with the WEDC, and the WEDC arranged for a phone call. And I know that they're working with the WEDC on some potential tax credits too. So there's a number of components in the project, related sort of, or interdependent a little bit, but separate and distinct.
All right, that is a lot of moving pieces. Linda, is there some sort of generic timeline that we might be able to look at to keep track of about how
Yeah.
long steps take?
Yeah, in the packet, we did provide a checklist for the city, and we showed some dates, things that were gonna happen. I could certainly pull together a preliminary timetable and kind of arbitrarily look at a March 30th, maybe closing date, and show you then what order I would anticipate things to happen. I'd be happy to do that, and I can send that to you tomorrow.
That would be great. I think that would be helpful for us to keep everything moving along all on the same feet at the same time.
And the city should be assured, I have the best paralegal in the world. Kate Albrecht takes all the pain away from the clerk and administration. She publishes the notices and makes sure she gets the affidavit she needs. She's the queen of checklists, and you will want to steal her away from me once you work with her.
Thanks, Linda. Does anyone else have any other questions for Linda now?
Well, I just want to thank Linda for that information, because our court clerk is going to be retiring sometime this year, so maybe we'll have to purloin Kate.
Oh, well, she lives in Brookfield. I got a fighting chance anyway.
Okay.
If there are no other questions, I will zoom out and I will zoom back in for the council meeting.
Okay, thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
All right, next up in our line is Riverfront Development LLC, Curtin and Scott.
Well, thank you for letting us zoom in virtually. This, as much as I'd like to be there in person to go over this information, it certainly, under the circumstances, seemed like this was more appropriate. And if we have a chance to look at the PowerPoint, then that'll be helpful. But we were asked to attend in order to revisit the land purchase agreement for the redevelopment site phase 1. And that agreement was approved and signed, and we're revisiting it now. There's an amendment that has been proposed, and so it was thought that it might be a good idea to for us to all maybe look at the background at the how we got to this point, and then maybe go into the details about what the need for the amendment is. So this project has been under consideration for quite some time, several years, but uh, we by no means, you know, mean to say that no progress has been made. I think quite a lot of progress has been made over the years. And so if you could scroll up to the next slide. Um, Kurt's been working with the RDA for this time, and over the years, they've made steady progress and working towards the ultimate goal of redeveloping the site. So getting the zoning approval, dealing with the storm water management, the actual construction plans have been approved. Certified survey of the site, the development agreement, DNR, for the cleanup of the site, even addressing the pedestrian connection through the site. All of these things are a lot of progress made on the site. So the actual project that Kurt is the developer for is in phase one, the construction of two buildings. They're named the blacksmith and the sawmill. If we could scroll on to the next. It was initially thought that apartments would be a good option, but financially it didn't make sense as it turns out. The rents, they wouldn't be able to charge the appropriate rent, so they ended up having a $4 to $6 million gap with that project. But rather than throw up their hands, they thought, well, why don't we advance this as a condo project? It seemed like a better opportunity for several reasons. Having property owners, owner occupants in these buildings, giving the opportunity for higher property values, having more taxpayers in the community. So that is the project that has been in consideration and been advanced forward to this point. So now the next slide, please. Why we think condos is a good opportunity, twofold. Actually, there's a third overarching reason, but the population of Dane County generally has been rising quite a bit, and it's been outpacing all of the predictions for many years. A couple of decades, they've been underestimating the increase in population. The most recent estimates say that the population will exceed 637 by 2050. And if the estimates are as low as they have been previously, that means the population could exceed 720,000 by 2050 if the trends continue the way they have. So with that kind of increase in population, at the very same time we have this incredible drop in inventory. Since 2012, there were 6 times more inventory back in 2012 than there is now. And when you look specifically at condos, there was 8 times the inventory in 2012. There's several reasons for that. Ever since the crash in 2008, we've had fewer builders, fewer subdivisions being started, and many fewer condo projects. In fact, many condo projects got caught in the crash of 2008. So as we see, this is countywide. It's not, it's actually nationwide in many ways, but our county in particular is feeling it, very keenly. So it's we're falling way behind the demand for new properties. Next slide, please. We also consider Stoughton to be a good potential site for condos because of the demographic considerations here in Madison. A lot of overall there's been a huge retirement of baby boomers, and that's going to continue. nationwide, there are about a million baby boomers retiring every year, and the retirement of baby boomers, they're going to be looking for places to resettle to. In many cases, they own homes that if they become empty nesters, or the home is simply too big and laden with maintenance, they want to find other options, and those options aren't currently out there. Um, Coming to a place like Stoughton might be particularly attractive to them because of the peaceful, quiet environment, lower crime, less traffic, less population. And in addition to that, we have many people that are able to work from home now. Those numbers have gone through the roof since the pandemic. So a higher number of tech and professional jobs. In fact, the overwhelming majority of the jobs and the buyers that we'd be attracting, people coming to this area, are in the area of tech and professional jobs. Next slide, please. So Kurt had some very nice buildings designed, and they worked extremely well for condos as well. So the blacksmith and the sawmill, and you can visit the website that we've created, StoughtonRiverfrontCondos.com, and you can see an animation of the exterior of the two buildings. And then it flies into a unit, and you get a sense of what the interior will be like. But if we go to the next screen, we can see some shots, some still shots, giving you a sense of, how nicely crafted this is, and the potential, especially over time. I know the trees aren't there yet, but this is all aspirational. I think people will respond very well to this. It has the potential to really grab people. So next slide.
Hold on, Mayor's talking to somebody.
The condos themselves, just the basic stats, they're going to be 78 units between the two buildings. They'll have underground parking, a roughly even distribution of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. Very solid quality construction. The construction could go fairly quickly too, because of the precast exterior that would basically be set in place, and the finishing work could be started fairly quickly. The units range from 620 square feet, the very smallest 1 bedroom, to 1,575 square feet. There are a couple of more than a couple. There are a few units that are actually 2 levels. They'd be a 3rd floor plus a partial 4th floor. And the price range anywhere from $248,000 to $630,000. All right, next slide. Now, when we presented this project in detail to the RDA, and what got us the initial approval for a land purchase agreement, was how we would go about marketing this condo project. We'd start with the storefront marketing on Main Street in Stoughton. We'd have that animation that you can see at the website running on the monitor in the window. We'll have flyers, layout boards showing these renderings. People could see the floor plans. They'd have an opportunity to get some information about Stoughton as well, if they didn't already have it. Again, that's something that's already on the website. You can click on things like the Chamber of Commerce, the Opera House, even learning about Stoughton Hospital, for example. And we would also offer people the opportunity to meet with us face to face. And initially, of course, if we we're going to be marketing a condo project, we'd put it in the MLS. So, and I mentioned the website. Of course, every site has to have its own website to really share that information with people. The next slide. So immediately after that meeting, we were prepared to rock and roll, basically. Starting that advertising, we thought we could easily have things in place by November. So we thought we better update the financing situation with the lender. And in meeting with the lender in October, the lender gave us some news that wasn't uh, entirely welcome. News about how the liquidity, especially in the commercial lending, is a big problem. And it's a problem for condo projects in particular, but in generally commercial lending is in a difficult place, and that there was no real possibility of a loan commitment until that liquidity improved. And so that was a big shocker for us. That basically they were saying without without liquidity, we're not going to be issuing loan commitments. So we can't give you any loan term because we're not there yet. Next slide. So without loan terms, we don't have sufficient definiteness about this project to be able to put it on the multiple listing service. Because in order for realtors to market properties on the MLS, we have to be able to offer the opportunity to get into a contract. So if we can't offer agents commissions and buyers contracts or an offer to purchase, we can't put it on the MLS. And if we don't have it in the MLS, we can't market the property. That's another thing that realtors are bound to do. In order, if it's marketed, we have to have it on MLS. Well, rather than just throwing up our hands and saying there was nothing to be done at this point, we doubled down to find out what options there were to keep the ball moving forward. And one was checking with the multiple listing service to make sure, well, there's got to be something that we can do to get the word out about this. And one thing that we could do, not being able to put it on MLS, we'd have to be able to use at least our own efforts to get the word out. And we actually have a written opinion from them that we would be fine canvassing buyers or telling them about this potential project, but making clear that we're not marketing it, we're not offering units for sale just yet. Next slide. And the other thing is that we spoke with the lender about that possibility of getting information about buyer's interest by canvassing. And the lender is open to the possibility of having this data from market data, actual market data, rather than sort of a generic feasibility study. We're actually getting information from realtors and from directly from buyers too, about their level of interest and some of their basic demographic information to be able to share with the lender to see at what point we can get more definite information from them. So here's the new proposal that we have on the table, which is the reason that the amendment was necessary in the first place. Basically, we're going to be able to do essentially all of the same things that we had originally offered, with some slight difference. The main difference is that it won't be on MLS itself, but what we'll be doing instead is making a direct outreach to realtors. I have already, just today, I sent out emails to almost 1,000 realtors, telling them about this potential for a new project, inviting them to learn about it and to take the survey about it, and inviting them to share information with any buyers that they have so that their buyers might also take the survey. And all of the efforts that we have going on at the storefront will include links to the website so that people, any buyer, anybody just walking by who's has an interest in the project, would be able to take the survey as well. And then as we gather that information, we can share that with the lender. Next slide, please. So the key changes to the agreement are they're detailed right here, that by tomorrow, we'll have to present evidence that we've opened the storefront project center, that we've got flyers, the video monitor, layout boards, and other marketing materials, that we've started a direct outreach to brokers in a 25-mile radius. And actually, the search that I conducted was a little bit larger than that. It's including the 4-county area of Dane County, Greene County, Rock County, and Jefferson County. I'm reaching out to some of the most active agents in all of those areas, and I basically reached out to any agents in Stoughton that are also active in selling right now. We'd offer by appointment hours at the storefront, and the website, as I've been mentioning, is already live, so that is available for people to look at now. Next slide. Once while this is going on for the next 2 months, well, starting tomorrow and then also in February, a representative of the marketing team, that would be me, would be attending the RDA meetings to give updates, reports on the inquiries made by interested parties, the number of buyers and brokers or realtors generally who have completed the survey, and to give information from the survey. And there will be more information than just the number of 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms saw it. Also aggregated, anonymized demographic information, age, number of occupants. There will be other details as well. By March 6th, I will deliver data to the lender to get the response, and we'll get that data and the lender response to that to the city finance director to share with the city council, with the RDA. And then by March 14th, the RDA will determine whether or not that report is sufficient or satisfactory. Assuming they have sufficient information in that report, we will work together with the RDA in all earnestness to come up with an agreement regarding deadlines or a term sheet and a loan commitment. So by that time, and we may know well before that, but at the very least, we have a hard deadline by May 14th that we have to be able to reach an agreement about when it's possible, when it's realistic to get that term sheet from the lender and to get a loan commitment. So that is, I think we've gone through the presentation. So are there any questions regarding that?
Anybody with any questions? All right, Scott, doesn't look like there's any questions in the room or on Zoom. Ben, did you have a question? You raised your hand? All right. Nope, no questions. Thanks, Scott.
All right, you're very welcome.
All right, next bit up is the Walmart assessment guarantee of 24.
This is kind of a informational only. In your packet is the email that I sent to Accurate Assessors, basically asking why in 6 years the assessment for Walmart hasn't changed from $12 million. And you can see his response both on the screen and in the packet there. And the next page is just the calculation of what they're going to have to pay us during calendar year 24. So you're looking at about 24.5 in round figures due from them. And it's been dropping over the years just because the mill rate dropped. So like I said, this is informational only for you in case you had any questions on the topic.
And Dave, it's only their financials that would really trigger them to relook at the valuation? Or I guess financials
Basically,
and a few other
what
things.
he's saying is that you'd have to have a major growth in sales or an expansion before that number gets changed at this point.
Got it. Okay. Anybody have any questions on that?
No, so basically the mill rate is for all the taxing authorities because it's in the TIF. So really what it shows is even though our expenses go up with the mill rate going down, so does their payment. We're, we're experiencing that in probably more than one TIF. But I think it was a good informational item. It's a little bit concerning, but there's really not much we can do about it. We do have a guarantee that, assessment's based on the $12 million figure, but until that number goes up or the mill rate goes up, they're going to continue to pay less. So, and they're not the only ones. I think they're just an easy target.
A big target, anyway. All right, so I guess we'll keep watching that one and see what happens with that. I mean, if they, would it just be an expansion, or if they decided to go through, even just a renovation, what's that threshold in order to trigger this revaluation?
Accurate assessors really didn't give us a definitive answer there, but I would have to assume even if they're redesigning the facility, there would have to be a marked increase in sales compared to prior years before they'd consider making any changes.
So hands are fully tied in this one.
It would seem that way.
Got it. All right. Thanks, Dave.
You're welcome.
All right. Presentations through. Does anybody else have any other communications that they wanted to add in? All right. Seeing none, then I would entertain to approve the minutes from the December 12th meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Greg. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ozzy. Any questions on the minutes, edits? All right, hearing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
And are any opposed?
Aye.
All right, minutes are accepted. Dave, for reports, I would propose either that we defer them out to the next meeting unless anybody's got any strong things that they want to see in the reports, just so that we can make sure to get through the items that we have at hand, our business items.
Totally up to you.
All right, anybody have any objection to defer the reporting out until? All right, so we will look at those at the next meeting then. So to jump into the business at hand, we've got a resolution for the reduction of the GIP Glacier Moraine LLC letter of credit.
Okay, similar to what we did last year, we looked at the value of the property and the projections going into the future for TIF increment, or tax increment, excuse me, and based upon the calculations included in your packet, we need to lower the letter of credit down to 193,791. So based upon my projections and the fact that they are constructing more buildings they constructed more buildings in calendar year 23, it appears that they're going to satisfy the $550,000 agreement, but of course, devil's in the details. But like I said, this is similar to what we did in the prior year, so I'll open up to any folks for questions.
Yeah, this is an annual thing to run this down. It's a pretty big chunk down in this one compared to the other one, so, but I mean, they did add a lot of assessed value in, so.
Correct.
Does anyone have any questions on this?
I move that we
I'd
recommend
make
to
the
council.
motion to, second.
All right, we had a motion by Greg and then a second by Lisa. Any other questions on this? All right, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
And are any opposed? All right, we will recommend that to council. Next one up, let's see. Do we want to keep with this order, Dave, or do we want to push the closed session items to the end and knock out the other ones? The non-closed
I would
sessions?
suggest having the closed session items at the end, just so that anybody in the public doesn't have to wait for the meeting to begin again.
Got it. All right. So I'm going to jump around on the schedule a little bit here, so bear with me.
Did this one here go into closed session at RDA, Dave?
Number 9, no, it did not, and it's not listed as closed session
Yeah.
for finance either.
All right. So we have the resolution for the amended and restated real estate purchase and sale agreement of Stoughton Riverfront Development LLC.
This is the topic that Scott Walker was discussing. Basically, we took the updated milestones that 360 Homes and Kurt Brink had proposed, tweaked the milestones in the agreement. At this point, Kurt Brink has signed, and the RDA has approved, and Pete Manley, as chair of the RDA, has signed. So the city is the only remaining partner in the agreement that needs to make a decision. The RDA approved it unanimously at 7-0. Rick, is there anything that you think we should add?
No, I was just gonna move to recommend to council.
I think you're all good.
I would second.
All right, there was a motion by Greg and a second by Lisa. And so all that's updated in this one, or at least as far as I could see in there, are just dates on the milestones.
Well, some of the milestones did change, because, for instance, we can't use MLS anymore.
Right.
So some of the milestones changed, some of the dates changed, but yeah, that's in the documentation there.
Got it. Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. Are there any other questions? All right, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
And are any opposed? All right, we'll recommend that one to council. I'm going to jump ahead to item 12, authorizing finance director and city attorney to evaluate the city's use of industrial revenue bonds for Flow Care Group LLC's potential development at 521 Glacier Marine Drive.
Yeah, so this is basically, this could be related to the TIF potentially, but if the city is interested in continuing to pursue this discussion with Flow Claire, and I know Richard wanted to speak tonight about his TIF proposal, but if the city is still interested in pursuing this project, this would allow us to at least bring you more information if you desire. Potentially have this initial resolution brought back to finance and the council in a couple of weeks. Again, part of it is there's moving pieces that are involved with the offer to purchase as well, but that's basically a decision point for you all tonight. Is just, are you still interested in exploring this? And if so, then you can at least direct staff to bring you more information and potentially have the resolution next week or in 2 weeks.
I mean, I think it's a worthwhile project for sure, and there are at least, I don't know that we've ever done, Mayor, have we ever done conduit bonds at all?
Not during
here
my
at the
time.
city of Stoughton.
Okay, so a new experience for us overall, but And there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of timelines and that are all sequential in there. But, I mean, I don't have any objection to at least getting the information gathering point started.
Yeah, we wanted to at least get the information in front of you. It sounds like we don't necessarily need action on this particular one tonight. But if you see anything on it between now and the next meeting, we would certainly, want you to reach out to Dave and or Rick. Dave can give Rick any clarifying questions he may have.
Yeah, and Bridget Keating, your bond counsel from Quarles and Brady, at least did look at this resolution, and she, said it was fairly standard and didn't have any issues with it. But obviously, you all heard from Linda tonight. She represents the developer. So, if you wanted to, just verify by having Bridget from Quarles and Brady come and give a similar presentation, or at the next meeting, that's certainly something that could be arranged.
Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, this is, if I understand this correctly, this is not a commitment. This is just authorizing the finance director and city attorney to evaluate. So I don't see any problem with going forward with that, so I'd move to recommend it.
I'll second that.
Second. Oh,
All right. Ozzy beat you on that one, Lisa.
okay.
All right. So this is just to get the ball rolling. So are there any other questions or comments on this resolution? All right.
If I can just verify.
Yep.
The motion is to do the evaluation at this time and not recommend to council at this time.
Just to do the evaluation.
Okay, thank you.
All right, a motion and a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
And any opposed? All right, go ahead and begin evaluations for that. Jumping ahead again to item 13 now, the discussion and possible action regarding landmarks commission carry forward request from 23 budget to 24 budget.
I was just going to mention, I'd requested this, but if we are short on time, I would be okay with postponing this to another meeting. I don't know that it has to be taken care of tonight unless Dave feels otherwise.
No, it's fine for next meeting.
Yeah, I would recommend that we just postpone then, so we can spend time on other more time-sensitive items.
Okay,
You want to have that as a motion to postpone to January 20, whatever that is?
Yes, please.
All right, second by Greg then. Any questions? We're just going to move that out to the next meeting.
I'll communicate out the landmarks. They meet Thursday night.
All right, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? All right, we'll postpone item 13 until the following meeting. Then that brings us to the two items that we have with the potential for closed session per state statute 19.85 paren 1 paren E.
And Richard, did you want to talk about anything before we consider going into closed session? And if you do, you can come up to the microphone. You're planning on presenting at council, is that?
The presentation I was going to make was on the TIF application, because I was aware that the IRB was going to be pushed back. So there was an application for TIF funding that was due last Friday. And so I did a presentation to dive deeper into that and allow questions that would affect that. So I don't know if you guys want me to do that or just do it at the Common Council, it's up to you. I can do it here and at the Common Council.
Probably just at the council. We'll save you having to repeat yourself a couple of
Okay.
times on it, so.
All right, sounds good. So,
Brett, if you want to not have Richard speak today, does that mean that you want to take action on item number 11?
Was that, he was
That
gonna
is to have Ellers start doing the analysis on the TIF financing request.
but he was going to present at council also? Or I suppose we've still gotta make a motion on it.
I guess my personal opinion, if the finance committee is being asked to make or wants to make a vote on the resolution, you probably would want the presentation at this meeting also, but that's up to you as the committee members.
and I'm okay with that.
Do y'all need more information on this?
He's gonna do the presentation,
Yep,
which, you know, you don't have, you can, I don't know, it's 22 slides, so I don't know how much you're gonna spend on each one, but we have a
Alright.
half hour.
yep,
I can glide through it and then
Okay.
okay,
give you guys an opportunity to ask questions.
sure.
This is it, right?
And Rick had a question on the, yes, that's it. And Rick had a question on the discharge?
Yeah.
Are we gonna, he can ask after the presentation.
Sure.
And we can deal with that.
Okay.
Okay, you can go to the next slide. So Flo Claire, I think most of you now know who Flo Claire is. We manufacture hair products and formulate them, and we've been in the beauty industry now for over 2 decades. Our products are sulfate-free, paraben-free, and mineral oil-free, and cruelty-free, which means no animals are used for testing at any stage in the research or production stage of product development. Our vision at Flo Claire is to be a global leader in the beauty industry that is recognized for our exceptional products, our uncompromised exceptional customer service, and a commitment to innovation. We strive to transform the way people perceive and care for their hair, inspiring confidence and self-expression. Through sustainable practices and social responsibility, we work to make a positive impact on individuals, communities, and the environment. Our development team is made up of five entities, with Flo Claire being the developer, and Tapestry Building Real Estate, headed by Marco Carlson, who is with me here. And most importantly, he is the project coordinator and has been helping to keep the project together, the players in the project moving forward. So he's a very important member of our development team. Ideal Builders are the contractors. They have over 20 years of experience in the business. Rainmaker Architects and Engineering firm will be doing the architectural services and surveyor services of the project, and they have over 30 years experience in the business. Batson Law Office is the legal counsel, and he's actually local in Stoughton, and he has been in the legal business for over 30 years. I've set up an advisory group, which is a group of professionals who have agreed to offer their skills and expertise to FlowClear to help FlowClear achieve the building, running, and growing of an energy-efficient, sustainable manufacturing facility. One of the members of the advisory board is Chad Hoffman, who is the International Marketing Director at WIDIC. He's also chairman of the Wisconsin District Export Council, and he's a former vice president of the Global Trade and Investment, Milwaukee 7. His areas of expertise are export and international trade, government affairs, and he's a certified global business professional. Dr. Keenan Granell is the CEO of Global Capital Group. He's an administrator of the Business Connection Module of the Business Council. He's the executive director of the Manufacturing Diversity Institute, and he's a recipient of the Diverse Business Assistant Grant Program from the Wisconsin Department of Administration. He was voted by the Milwaukee Business Journal in 2021 as one of the top 10 people to know in manufacturing in Southeast Wisconsin. He's also a recipient from the SBA of the National Growth Accelerator Award. His expertise is in wealth creation ecosystems, market research and analysis, strategic planning, and entrepreneurship. John Milligan has over 33 decades experience in cosmetic and natural products industry, has a Bachelor of Science focused in organic chemistry from the University of Manchester. He's an experienced growth architect and R&D executive. His areas of expertise are research and development, manufacturing engineering, quality systems, fast-moving consumer goods, also known as FMCGs, and strong entrepreneur professional. And finally, Patrick Obukohu, who is the president and principal consulting chemist of Advantage Research Lab. He's a member and lecturer of the Society of Cosmetic Chemists. He's a member of the Ask the Expert of the Society of Cosmetic Chemists as well. He has 20 years experience in the personal care industry. His expertise includes being an industry expert on ethnic hair and skincare product formulation, raw material evaluation, and is recognized for his patented work on relaxers. You can go to the next page. So this is just a rendering of the proposed manufacturing facility from the right side of the front. You can see the dock and the front of the office. Next slide. On this side was supposed to be further along in the presentation, but you can see at the bottom there you have EV charging stations, you have solar panels at the top, and you have bike racks on the side of the building. I will talk about those things later in the presentation. So the FlowClear project has two phases, and phase one will be a 30,000 square foot facility, which will create about 20 to 25 well-paying jobs, and these are in production, sales and marketing, research and development, and administrative staff. The total phase 1 project budget is $5 million, which will be accessed through the IRB we talked about earlier in the meeting of the committee. $4 million of it will be hard construction, and $1 million, the remaining $1 million will be production equipment and fixtures, and also soft construction and project costs. Phase 2 of the project will be after three years of production commencement of phase 1. And this will be an additional 55,000 square foot expansion to phase 1. And this will grow the storage capacity and also production capacity of the facility. It will create a further 15 to 20 additional well-paying jobs, and it will be focused primarily production and research and development. So part of phase 2 will be the creation of a research and development hub, which will include a greenhouse and a hydroponic growing system, where we will be able to synthesize our own extracts and ingredients for our products, for our sustainable products. Part of the application for TIF funding was to evaluate how Flow-Claire is in alignment with the City of Stoughton's TIF policy goals. And the first goal of Stoughton's TIF policy is to, does the company achieve or accelerate development on sites that would not be developed without the use of tax increment financing? The Flow-Claire project accelerates real sustainable development on an otherwise vacant land parcel. The other policy is to evaluate whether there is an increase in employment opportunities in the city. And as I had outlined before, phase 1 creates 20 to 25 well-paying jobs, and phase 2 creates a further 15 to 20 jobs. And the jobs will average a minimum of $40,000 per year. Does the project increase the tax base for the city and other taxing jurisdictions? Current value of the 4.4 acre land parcel that we propose to build the facility is valued at $0, obviously. And phase 1, the phase 1 assessed value would be at least $3 million, and phase 2 adds an additional $3 million to the property value. So that increases the city's tax base in perpetuity. And does the project assist in implementation of the city's comprehensive plan? Our project creates industrial development in the industrial business park, and also creates well-paying in phase 4. After phase 2, we'll create at least 35 to 40 well-paying jobs. Does the project include sustainability measures that will promote healthy environment, including measure to reduce climate change impacts? We have planned to install a solar array to provide most of the electrical needs of the production facility, for over 80% of the electrical needs. We have planned for installing EV charging stations. Initially in phase 1, we'll have 2, and we'll consider to add an additional 2 in phase 2. We'll also have provision for bike racks to give people the option of using sustainable transportation. Substantial windows will be provided to provide a lot of natural light, which reduces the need for excessive electrical usage during the day. Energy efficient electrical systems, for example, sensors as opposed to switches, which help to reduce the energy consumption. We're also planning to install a reverse osmosis water treatment system, which will help to reduce the amount of discharged water into the city water treatment system. And the on-site greenhouse and hydroponic growing system that we're planning for phase 2 of the project. So FlowClear, as part of the TIF application, is requesting $700,000 in TIF benefits from the city of Stoughton. These benefits will provide necessary funding to support, to secure the industrial revenue bond financing on borrowing terms that can be supported. The TIF dollars will reduce the permanent debt load to a supportable level. 500 will be used to provide funds that are needed to show the IRB lender the upfront cash, which the lender can then book as equity or down payment fund. The anticipated purchase price of the land is $265,800, for which FlowClear is seeking a waiver as part of the TIF application, and forgiveness on property taxes during the first 3 production years. What are the benefits of FlowClear Group development to the Stoughton community? We believe that the FlowClear production facility will be a showcase for sustainable energy efficient systems and green resource utilization. It will also serve as a magnet and inspiration to future development and investment in Stoughton. It will also serve as a welcome addition to the business park, attracting additional clean development, resulting in family and household growth in the city, and positive perception of well-paying jobs and opportunities. FlowClear's commitment to sustainability and environmental responsibility resolves the tension between economic and community care, and will serve as an example for others to follow both locally and throughout the FlowClear's global market. The phase 2 development will serve as a model for locally sourced production through innovative hydroponic growing facility. The anticipated project timeline. So the application phase, which we're in now, we anticipate that to go between now and hopefully by the end of March. And then from April to June, we'll have the due diligence period, planned production, construction scoping, and bidding. And then construction will be the next 10 to 12 months up to June 2025. And then the building activation and production start is hopefully July to August of 2025. I can take any questions.
Very thorough, Richard.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any initial questions for Richard?
I had one.
Go ahead, Lisa.
I just wanted to clarify on the TIF request. I think I saw that you were looking for 700,000. Is that in addition to the land, the 265,800, or would that be included in the 700,000 as a total request?
It's included in the 700,000 as a total request.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions?
Yeah, I just
Mayor?
had a quick one. On the TIF request, you also had requested the waiver of the property taxes. It's more of a legal question. I think this has come up in the past that, and Rick, you can help me, or Dave, is there a uniformity clause that we'd have to consider?
Yeah, so that's correct, Mayor. Basically, we can't, do a waiver of property taxes, but the way that it would be structured is through the municipal, like if the council were to decide to move forward with a TIF incentive, it would have to be through a municipal revenue obligation where property taxes are paid, and then basically they would be paid back to the developer as part of the incentive. So that's how the structure would have to work, just because of the constitutional constraints.
Yeah, I think that was put in place in 1848 when we were established. We like our old laws in Wisconsin.
We'll work with that.
I think that's one that Illinois uses frequently, isn't it? There, they use property tax waivers, I think, but.
So, and then my other question is, we're running a little low on time tonight. So when we look at your timeline here, let me get back to it. Do we need a recommendation tonight? I mean, obviously, we need to kind of digest it and send it through the council. Certainly, if we didn't make a decision right here, right now, as far as the recommendation, can you guys live with that? I mean, bring it back at the next meeting. I think by then it'll be fully digested, or at least close to it. Is that creating any issues for you?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
And I believe tonight too, we would be, one of the discussion items is the authorization of Ellers to do analysis. So I did speak with Keith Dahl, and he indicated that this is a type of, they would be able to perform some sort of needs analysis here to determine whether TIF is needed in this case or not. So the one resolution would at least allow the city to move forward with that piece.
So it sounds like it might be advantageous to at least get that started if there's general support to move ahead.
Agreed.
And I guess that's what I would propose to the others, unless for some reason you just think you need more time. I mean, typically what'll happen is, go ahead, Lisa, you can.
Well, you were maybe going to answer this, but I think there was a fee of maybe around approximately 4,000 associated with this. So if the development agreement didn't happen, if the sale didn't happen, is that money that the 4,000 that the money is just spent, or would the developer be paying for that right off the bat for us to do the homework?
That's a good catch, Lisa, because one of my recommendations actually was going to be authorizing Ellers to move forward with the analysis, and authorizing the mayor to execute like the city's standard reimbursement agreement for TIF requests.
Thank you. I mean, under those circumstances, I would make the motion to recommend that to council.
So
provided.
because of the TIF request, does that affect the offer to purchase? No?
It would, well, let Rick answer, it'd probably be one of the conditions.
Yeah, they're obviously linked, and we plan on having future conversations after this meeting, depending on how the council goes. So they're linked conversations that we'll continue to have depending on the direction from council.
I think we're gonna have multiple balls in the air on this one, and at some point, we're gonna catch them all.
I'll help.
So I think
All right,
Lisa,
yeah, Lisa had a motion on that. Is there a second in favor? Second by Greg. Any other questions on, so we're just voting specifically on, for Ehlers to start in on the, pro forma. All right, if no questions, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
And are any opposed? All right, we'll recommend that one to council. Thanks, Richard.
Okay, thank you.
And we have moved a few things off onto the next meeting, so we'll look at reports. The reports we were going to cover tonight in that one. The last, I guess, item 12 then just is postponed also until the following meeting, so that we can have all the information on it. So a few things pushed off into the next meeting, but we'll catch up. Any other items anyone wants to discuss for or add to the future agenda items, I suppose? All right, if none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Greg, is there a second? Second by Ozzy. Any other questions? All in favor, aye?
aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, meeting's adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
With a motion, a minute to spare.